Hi, I'm Cailey, a librarian here at Mentor Public Library.
And I'm Meg, also a librarian, and welcome to this week's edition of All Booked Up with Cailey and Meg, where each time we give you different book recommendations on a specific theme. So for this one, our last show for 2022, see you again early in 2023, we are going to be looking at what we're calling milk and cookies. So it's the holiday season. We got to get milk and cookies for Santa, right? Well, we're looking at holiday desserts. So fulfilling that ever-present sweet tooth, especially at this time of year.
Yes, I think that we also just love looking at cookbooks with delicious looking treats in them.
Yeah.
All of the books that we're going to talk about for you today are available through the library, whether in person or online with your library card through Libby or Hoopla. Okay, Meg, what is your first delicious cookbook?
Yeah, so my first one went pretty literal. So it literally has some milk and cookie recipes in it and other things, but it's called Chicano Bakes by Esteban Castillo. And this is a beautiful cookbook bursting with color and flavor and features traditional Mexican recipes as well as fun twists on American classics. So I love this one because in some of the cookbooks we've talked about in the past, I'll mention the photography. Well, with this one, my favorite part of it is there is glitter everywhere. I love it. So every page there is the food, which looks delicious, but then there's just like little glistens, almost like in an anime or something, which I just think is so endearing and it just makes me even more interested in them.
That's not what I was expecting.
No, right? Color on every page. The most colorful dessert book I've ever seen for sure. But to start with some of these delicious recipes, there is a one for milk. So that takes whole milk, condensed and vanilla, and add cinnamon stick. You simmer it and you add a cornstarch mixture to make it like this almost luxurious milk concoction that's thicker than milk, but it's like has this wonderful flavor. There's a variation where you can add pecans and other spices to it as well, so it's just making your milk more deluxe. And then to go with that, there are many different cookie recipes in here. Some of my favorites is just the chocolate chip cookie, which recommends using a mixture of bittersweet milk and Mexican chocolate. One tip he recommends is just buying bars of chocolate and then chopping it kind of loosely, which makes for a cookie that has like larger puddles of melted chocolate inside rather than using chips or chunks, which kind of stays more contained. So I think that sounds really delicious. Mexican sprinkle cookies, which the pictures of these are adorable. They're just these cute little sugar cookies with little sprinkles. They have different spices in them as well. Another favorite for kind of a holiday drink, if you'd like, is the chocolate caliente. So they're Mexican hot chocolate with Mexican and cinnamon. And I love all these recipes that have cinnamon in them. I just think that adds an extra flavor to your desserts. But aside from that, it's not just milk and cookies and drinks. There are just tons of other delectable treats in here, like the caramel apple cheesecake empanada. I mean, come on, Cailey, doesn't that it just sounds so good? And so really, I can't recommend this one enough. It just is fun, lighthearted, and I know you're going to get some great new ideas for the holiday season.
I'm so glad that we are recording this after lunch. But
yeah,
those sound so good. And I love that. I love doing like triple chocolate with anything because I feel like it adds more depth when you're doing something chocolatey. Yeah. That chocolate chip cookie sounds great. And I totally agree with you that cinnamon is just that like warm feeling. And I definitely highlighted a couple of those myself.
Good. Awesome.
So my first cookbook, I was looking at cookbooks and I stumbled upon this one and got a little excited about it. This is the Mini Waffle Maker Cookbook by Tara Adams. So it's slightly off topic, but not really. No. Because in the last couple of years, I have acquired 2 mini waffle makers. One is heart-shaped and one is traditional Eggo-shaped, if you will. But so you might ask how this fits into our holiday sweets. And I will say, think of breakfast.
Yes.
Who doesn't love to have something special for your holiday breakfast? And why not waffles?
Of course.
So there were a couple in here that I thought were sort of holiday worthy.
Okay.
One was a French toast waffle, which is basically using your waffle iron to make French toast, which I think is brilliant, but adding, that next step to make it a fancy French toast.
Yeah.
There was also an Eggs Benedict waffle, if you're feeling really fancy. This has a waffle base instead of your English muffin, and it has a savory bacon waffle that is topped with ham and poached eggs and hollandaise sauce, which is just, I love Eggs Benedict. So I thought that was a fun one. And then cinnamon waffles, because I feel like the smell of cinnamon is just like warm and festive. Instead of popping a can of cinnamon rolls, you can make cinnamon waffles. And these ones are actually stuffed. This recipe is actually stuffed with a cinnamon brown sugar mixture. So you still get that like gooiness in the center like you would with a cinnamon roll. And there is even a cinnamon sugar like icing listed for this recipe, which is great. So it gives you that cinnamon roll vibes, but in waffle format. And this recipe book also is great because it has different substitutions listed for gluten-free, or if you're going paleo. There's some savory recipes in here, like that Eggs Benedict one, as well as some dinner and lunch recipes for sandwiches and things. And I also appreciated that this had tips for like storing and reheating waffles, so you can like make a big batch ahead, because when you're talking a mini waffle, it makes a lot, like a good 12 or so each batch, which if you're in a smaller household is not that good, but you can freeze and reheat and then just have them on another day. But I really liked this cookbook because I think it does have holiday potential in it.
Oh, yeah, no question. And like the French toast one sounded fantastic. French toast has been one of our traditions for years, like as a holiday thing. So I would love to try variation on that. And then it's just inspiring in general because, growing up, I thought adding peanut butter was the most revolutionary thing you could do with a waffle. And now I'm like, you're showing me there's so many more things besides that.
Yes, there's a lot you can do.
There is a lot. And it sounds great for this time of year too. Love it. So my next holiday dessert cookbook is The Last Bite by Higham. And now this one is if Santa wanted to take fruit, add a bunch of sugar to it and say he's eating healthier, right? So it has a lot of fruit recipes.
I do that.
Me too. Right. So I get it. So I like this one because Anna's approach in this book is baking is always seen as the more scientific, that you have to exactly follow the measurements, whereas cooking, you can improvise more and do more to your taste. Well, she's kind of challenging that in this cookbook and showing how using fruit-based recipes and desserts, you can experiment more and do stuff more off the cuff. And so she does it by seasons. That's how the book is set up: fall, summer, winter, spring. And so I'm going to highlight some of the ones I found in the winter section that I thought might be nice for this time of year. So she does have a Christmas pudding recipe in here, which I have never tried. So I think this one sounds really interesting. There are a lot of components to Christmas pudding, but even though there's a lot of ingredients, the actual process of making it isn't quite so as bad as all it sounds. So there's dried cranberries, golden raisins, pecans, chestnuts, and hazelnuts, and you put it all together and it just makes you feel like you're in a Charles Dickens book when you're making Christmas pudding. So I like that one. There was a Meyer lemon sherbet with preserved lemon meringue, which I know my mom would like. She's the world's biggest lemon fan. So I just thought that one sounded amazing. This recipe celebrates the acidity and brightness of the fruit, but yet there's a cream hidden inside in the center that acts as a palate break from the strong flavors through the rest. So I like that combination. Sometimes with lemon, I like lemon, but I can find it to be a little too tart. So I like the mix of sweet and sour there. But it's just beautiful cookbook as well, just showing you tips for, because a lot of these are fruit based. So tips for, when in season, what fruits are, better to get at certain times of year, and how to kind of like you said with the waffles, how to preserve them and cook things at the proper time with these fruits. So really informative, a lot of stuff I didn't know, and a lot of things I want to try that I haven't before. So that's why I like this one.
No, that sounds great. I mean, I love baking with fruit, and I think there's something great about like having that sort of coziness of the almost melty fruit in its
Yeah,
own way, when,
great.
especially when we talk about pies and tarts and things like that. So I
Right.
love being able to add that in. And like one of my favorite Christmas recipes is like a cranberry orange bread,
Ooh,
because it's just that sort of like tart brightness that is great this time of year too.
yeah.
The next one I have is called Favorite Cookies, and this is by the Williams-Sonoma Test Kitchen. So I'm like right on the money with this one.
You are right there. Yeah.
So let's talk cookies.
Okay.
So this holiday, I am trying to gift a lot of homemade goods. So I have been looking at making a lot of cookies for people, and I am definitely putting my stand mixer to good use this year. So I have been looking up all these different recipes lately, and this book from Williams-Sonoma Test Kitchen has some really great cookie recipes, from some fancy ones to drop cookies. There's something for everyone in here. And let me just tell you about a couple of the cookies that I am most definitely going to be making this month. One is snickerdoodles, which I think we've already established our love of cinnamon, but this is a classic cookie and it's coated in cinnamon sugar. And I love that these are drop cookies because, frankly, historically, I don't have a great track record with cookie cutters.
Yeah.
And also with decorating. I have beautiful visions in my head and they just do not translate onto the cookie. But so this is a classic snickerdoodle recipe and it is so hard to like get them right. But I love that in this book, they give you like the hints for it. So they're not too hard, that they still have that sort of soft center and they sound delicious. Then chocolate crinkle cookies, which I was so excited to find this recipe because years ago I had a recipe for these that I lost. And I don't know what I did with it, but somewhere in moving, I lost this recipe. And it was one that I made a bunch. And I haven't found a recipe that has really been very close to what I had before, but this one hits it. It is a rich, chocolatey, almost like cakey cookie that is dropped in powdered sugar. And as it cooks, it spreads out a little bit and leaves like these little crinkle marks in it. But again, it's a drop cookie, which means the most I'll have to do is maybe like roll it into a ball and through the powdered sugar before I put it on the cookie sheet. So I'm really excited to try those because I haven't yet. I haven't had them in a long time. Now, if you're more ambitious than me, there is a whole chapter specifically on holiday cookies, which I think any cookie is a holiday cookie, but their chapter tends to take on a lot more work as far as fancy designs and decorations. But seriously, this chapter really features some beautifully decorated cookies and styles and different ways for you to amp up your holiday. But as I said, I tend to go towards the drop cookie personally, but I'm sure they're all delicious. And I think you can't go wrong with a name like the Williams-Sonoma Test Kitchen.
Very reliable for sure. Oh, Cailey, that I love cookie books. I mean, that was like the same for me growing up, is going through like the toy catalog they would send you. Like I would go through like cookie books and be like, what am I gonna eat? Mom, make this for me. No, but now I'm trying my own to make cookies. Oh, sounds so good. I can't wait. I'm definitely gonna be stealing that one too. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this edition of last 2022 edition of All Booked Up with Cailey and Meg. We hope you have a very happy holiday season and maybe we perked your little sweet tooth up and you'll want to make some of these recipes.
Yes, we hope you want to try out some of these cookies just as much as we do and the other holiday treats that we've mentioned. We will see you in 2023. Happy reading.